Are you a hardworking local business owner striving for success online? There is help. Welcome to the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast, featuring candid conversations and inspiring stories of online success. Now, here's your host.
Yes, this is James Martell, and I am your host for the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast. And today I'm joined by Tony Valentino, a customer acquisition specialist and a partner here at SmarterLocal. And today we're going to be discussing how one small tweak to a website exploded sales and changed everything for this local business. Now, before Tony joins us, just a reminder that if you would love to finally have in place a rock-solid internet marketing strategy for your business that provides you with an excellent ongoing return on investment, go ahead and simply reply to the email in which you receive this podcast episode to arrange a free 30-minute consultation to discuss how a smarter local marketing program can be custom-tailored to your specific needs and business. Again, simply reply to the email in which you receive this podcast episode to arrange your free, no-obligation 30-minute consultation. Now again, Tony Valentino is a local customer acquisition specialist and a partner here at SmarterLocal. Tony, how you doing today?
I'm pretty good, James. How are you?
Very good, thank you. And I thought it'd be great to get you on the show today and join me as a co-host to talk about a story you shared with me a few weeks ago about literally how a small tweak that you made to a website for a local business literally changed everything for them. Would you mind kick us off on what you were talking about?
Sure. I live in the South Florida area. I'm just outside of Fort Lauderdale, and anybody in this area has probably seen these highly polished fuel tankers drive along the road. And what they're doing, they're delivering diesel fuel to the yacht, that are in the area here. Well, anyway, Dave and Karen, the owners of this fuel delivery business, approached me. They have a website, and it wasn't doing too much, and they asked if I could help.
Now, that's a pretty common story that I've found myself. A lot of business owners, local business owners, have websites that were designed for them maybe recently, maybe a long time ago, and they're really not connected to their site. It's not really doing much for them. So you're saying this was very similar to that?
Absolutely. I was more surprised than anything, James. They disclosed to me that they deliver, multi-million dollars amounts of fuel each year. And, when I asked them, well, how's your website do? Do you get much business from your website? And they said, no, we've got a website because, we think we got to have. We're told that you're supposed to have a website. But it doesn't do much. Some guy built it years ago. It sits out there, and that's about it.
So in their particular case, so they've got a website. So what were they using it for before you met up with them? Because I know you made some changes to it for them.
Yeah.
But what was it used to generate leads? Was it used as a corporate brochure? What was the purpose of the site?
I'm thinking about it. It's a hard question to answer. I'm not too sure, but it was your typical old clunky website. It was big. It was long. It was scattered. I think there was over 16 pages. When you needed to find something, you had to kind of sift and hunt and really work your way around. But anyway, to cut a long story short, we've got it down to 2 pages these days after we did our work with it, and we find that it does everything, and if not more, than what the original website did. And I think just to elaborate a little bit more, I know that you're probably hunting around the golden egg here, and that is that one of those 2 pages is an online order form, something that they never thought of incorporating. But what we find is it's really worked some magic for them in many different ways.
So what were they doing before? So I know you touched upon this when we chatted about this a few weeks ago. Originally, the website was they would receive calls at the office.
That's right.
And they would fulfill the orders that way. And then I think what you'd mentioned, you'd added a web form to their website. Explain what they were doing, and then what effect the change had and what the change was.
Well, yeah, sure. Well, they had the normal business model where they had a phone number that was their main source of contact, their main point of reference and contact for their customers, and people would call in and eventually order a delivery of fuel. And what we did now, what they found then is that they had business. They had a good business model. They had as I say, they delivered a lot of fuel per year, but they found that it was taxing in the way that It took a lot of resources. They had to have 2 girls on the phones at all time. And they were fielding a lot of, when people would call, they were fielding a lot of questions. And what we did with our order form, what's happened is that they've gone from phone calls, fielding phone calls, to people basically just ordering direct. Another thing is, with the phone call, they found that people would often try to bargain on a price. We're talking normal business model. You've got somebody on the phone and you would say, well, if I order, 3,000 gallons instead of 1,000, will you give me a price break? And it's this online order form has stopped all that. People just go in, they order, and they're out. It's been quite a godsend. The girls love me. The girls think it's great because they've gone from 2 girls fielding phone calls and questions full-time to really just one of them handling orders. She's actually just processing orders mostly these days, and she does it pretty easily.
You bet. So essentially, and this is fascinating, you've grown a website or shrunk a website. Usually people think that, hey, I got to get my site bigger. But what you did is you went in and you basically cut to the chase, figured out what you needed to do, discovered what their challenge was, which was handling the phone, and they had, as you said, haggling over price. So you put in an order form. I imagine the order form probably answers some of the questions or most of the questions that they have. They fill in the order form, so that probably cuts back on, maybe it doesn't cut back on labor, but it allows the girls to be more productive. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, look, absolutely. As I said, they've gone from 2 girls fielding questions to 1 girl basically processing orders, doing schedules for the trucks. And you're quite right. Yeah, the 16 pages were long and cumbersome, and they made the typical mistake where people feel you have to overload them with information. These days we find, James, I probably elaborate on this a lot more yourself, and I know you've covered this before, but people are often in a hurry. They haven't got time. And if you're dealing with with yacht captains and and yacht owners, they're usually busy people. They know what they want. They want that information. There's a few key points that they're interested in, and that's all. Then they want to get on with business. They want to get on with it. So yeah, we streamline the process. I think we streamlined the process is the best way to put it, and just made it simple. Made it a real simple, painless process.
I would imagine, too, obviously the business owner would be very happy with this, but also the customers being able to not have to give a phone call. I imagine they weren't open 24/7. I don't know. You could clarify on that. But also, in this world we live in today, people like to be able to get things done on their own. They don't need help so much anymore. If you can just give them the tools that they need, they will actually do the data entry in this particular case themselves.
You're very right, and I want to touch on that point where you mentioned about the 24/7. The business is not open 24/7. It's a 7 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. They'll do some weekends by special order, so it's not 24/7. But the orders come in 24/7, and this is something that they didn't have before. Here's another thing: given that this is all digital and everything is done, via emails, and everything's recorded onto the hard drive. There's no more of those costly mistakes where, I don't know, because of a bad connection or miscommunication, 5,000 gallons of fuel is inadvertently sent out when it should only be 2,000 gallons of fuel, and now they find that they're holding excess stock and inventory. Because of some reason. So that's all gone. They've got an instant kind of backup and a resource to settle any disputes. And in fact, there are no more disputes. They tell me it's all quite clear cut.
Interesting. All from one simple little order form. Now,
yeah.
Isn't it amazing? And I know you and I have known each other for over 10 years, and we've been both in the online space for that long as well. And it always amazes me how sometimes just one simple little tweak, and honestly, adding an order form technically is not that big of a deal, but coming up with the idea, how did you come up with the idea to chat with or talk with your client and then work out and figure out, okay, here's where we can go with this? Because everybody's different, everybody's got a different need, different type of business, but there's always something that can be done to improve things.
That was really easy. All I had to do was, just spend a little time in their office, and their phone would be ringing, and the girls' eyes would roll up at the questions that they were getting, and it was simple. And I looked at them. I said, this can easily be handled with an order form. Just do this on the website. I'm a great believer in simple surveys and just little things like that, little click to edit or click to fix solutions on websites. I find that a lot of people have the time to click, just one simple click. And that's what I did. I put forward the idea, I suggested it, and they saw the beauty and the ease and elegance of it, and we never looked back.
How long did it take you from the time you said, okay, let's do this, or they said, okay, we agree, let's go? How much time did it take you to actually rework everything, prune it down from 16 pages down to the 2, develop the order form, integrate it with their business? Imagine you had to work with the girls or whoever handling the information as it came in on the other end. How long did it take to basically get this in place?
Counting revisions and everything, it was within 2 weeks, James. It was quick. We spent time on it. I got my team on it. We made it priority. It was a big business. It was an ongoing business. We couldn't afford any downtime. So we got it going fast. The first rendition was up and going, I think, in a few days. It was really the tweaks, the graphics, some beautiful photographs. We did a couple of things. We added a couple more things there, which made everything really hum. One of the things, the 16 pages, and I still marvel over this when I think of it now. The 16 pages, the photographs, and this might be something to your audience. It kept showing a photo of one fuel truck. You see one fuel truck here, one fuel truck there, one fuel truck. Well, when I went on site, I find that these guys have got a fleet. They got 8 trucks. So I thought, wouldn't it be good to get a visual on the size of your business, and the size of your fleet? Because I could just imagine some guy, I got the impression it was one truck. It was a one-truck business. And I thought, if I call, I've got to wait. I've got to wait in line for my delivery. It's not like that at all. These guys are set up to deliver, serious amounts of fuel every day. So I thought, let's cultivate that. Let's put that on, out there and make that front and center. And a couple other little things which helped. Here's another thing. I want to put a little call out to a good friend of mine here, Jose Quiroz. Had a great podcast there with you mentioning email campaigns. Well, these people, since we put up that contact form, James, you can appreciate one of the first things we do is get somebody's email address.
Sure.
I mean, wow, you put that into an autoresponder, into a mechanism that sends out regular emails and just say, hey, we're still here, and they have nothing but repeat clients, and that's all. It all comes down to the little tool that started, with that online order form.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's Jose's great. Yeah, we had a good chance to talk about email marketing in his episode. In fact, we'll definitely put a link to that episode in the show notes, because in my world, your world, we live and breathe by people's email addresses. That's how we communicate with our clients. That's how we communicate with potential clients, and we have autoresponder series of messages that go out automatically. And it's everything for us. And businesses are starting to do the same. Other types of businesses are starting to do the same, because it does give them that instant form of communication. It's easy to get to people. It's still by far the most profitable marketing strategy, generally speaking, online, because everybody has an email. And statistically, we know 91% of people check their email on their smartphones every day. So it's a good way to get in front of somebody. Yet, businesses are always looking for ways to capture email addresses. And how can I get my customer's email address? Well, in your particular application with the fuel company, that was very much part of the order form, and automatically that you gather that email address in every time somebody places an order. And what's always amazing to me, Tony, is how many businesses actually don't have an email address for their customers.
Yeah. You're right. People don't realize the staggering amount of business they leave on the table. And it amazes me, James, because people are giving you, quite happily, they're giving you their contact, and they're virtually saying, stay in touch with me. Please let me know. it's a remarkable and really worthwhile tool. I don't know. It's one of the first things I suggest. If people haven't thought about it in business, if they haven't thought about utilizing email marketing, that's a big word. But if they haven't thought about their emailing list, I think they should really consider. I'm preaching to the choir, but I think they should really reconsider and have a think about how powerful just keeping in touch with customers can be.
You bet. Keep them coming back. That's one thing to gain a customer. It's a whole other thing to keep them coming back, and email actually makes that pretty easy. Any final thoughts or words of advice to listeners who are thinking about, hey, maybe I need to have a look at my website, maybe I need to look at how we're operating internally, maybe I need to be looking at my site as a method to driving more business through the door? Any final thoughts?
I have, and that's something that we found, again, quite remarkable with this particular company. It's anchorpetroleum.com. Anybody in the Fort Lauderdale area or listening to this podcast that wants to refer back to a website, they've got these beautifully, highly polished trucks that, and there's nothing like what you would imagine would be delivering diesel fuel, around the place. But they've got these beautiful trucks driving around town, and they've got their name plastered on the sides of these trucks. Well, I made the suggestion, or we made the suggestion, one of my marketing guys actually did, said, why don't they just put the .com, they just add the .com onto the side of their truck? Because people, these trucks are driving down the road, and you can imagine, this phone number, they have their phone number on the back of the truck, but, a lot of times if it's going across the road from you, you don't get time to write it down or memorize the number, but everybody will remember the .com. Here's a little bit more what's happened. Since they've put that .com, they've opened up a whole new segment to their business. What they're getting now, which they didn't have to any extent in the past, was in the South Florida area, hurricanes, a lot of buildings, a lot of condos have got these backup generators. Well, guess what? They've got diesel fuel storage. They hold thousands of gallons of storage. Anchor Petroleum have picked up a whole new segment into real estate. Let's call it real estate, into the real estate segment. And something they never had before. It's through putting that little .com on the sides of their truck. There's usually, you ask me any final thought, marketing, just to kind of think outside the box. Sometimes it's pretty obvious, and a little change can make a big difference.
Very well said. Great advice. Tony, I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been just great to catch up, and thanks for sharing your thoughts.
My pleasure. Thanks, James.
Now, if what we talked about here today makes sense to you, but you're not quite sure how to get started, simply reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange your free, no-obligation 30-minute consultation. We'd love to help bring you more customers and clients through the door. Again, simply reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange your free, no-obligation 30-minute consultation. And finally, if you enjoyed this episode and know a friend or associate who would benefit from what we shared here today, please do pass this episode on to them. I'm sure they'll thank you for it. Tony, thanks again. And to our listeners, thanks for listening to another edition of the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast. If you would love to finally have in place a rock-solid internet marketing strategy that provides you with an excellent ongoing return on investment, then go ahead and reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange a free, no-obligation 30-minute consultation to discuss how a smarter local marketing program can be tailored to your specific needs and business. Again, simply reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange your free, no-obligation 30-minute consultation.
Stepped right outside with my guitar in my hands, and the notes became loud as the sound caressed the air, and I kicked it up a notch as I strolled without a care, 'cause I'm going